And the federal government could shut down Wednesday morning if Congress doesn't reach a deal. Democrats and Republicans are deadlocked over health care and spending issues. The House passed a 7-week funding extension, but Senate Democrats want health care benefits included. Thousands of federal workers could be furloughed or even laid off. Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George joins us now live from Capitol Hill. And Joe, hey, we were just here. And we flirted with the government shutdown many times in the past, as you have said before. But this one does feel a little different, doesn't it?
Oh, good morning, Holly. You know, we're in the fact reporting business, and when the facts change, our reporting will change. But for the moment, all the facts are pointing in the direction that the government is going to shut down in 16 hours time. The reality is that both sides feel very comfortable with their positions. They're dug in and they're contrary to one another. Democrats believing that health care needs to be a part of this debate, that they're upset over expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies. They want the Trump administration to address those subsidies. If not, Democrats say millions of Americans will have higher insurance premiums in the months and years to come. Republicans have issues with those subsidies. They have issue with that program, and for the moment are not prepared to make this part of the debate. So with that, as the positions of both sides that are really contrary to one another, with the House of Representatives not even being in Washington. So if there's some grand compromise that drops over the lunch hour, I mean, the House isn't even in town. They'd have to fly back in order to avoid it. That's why all indications, there's this feeling of, I think the weather forecast, right, a little doom and gloomy, little rain. It's very apropos for what looks like to be the first government shutdown in several years later tonight. And on social media, it's certainly playing out that way. I think we can pull up what Senator Chuck Schumer has recently said, as well as what President Trump said on social media. Look at the meme first from the President of the United States. Look what he did. He used Photoshop, or one of his staffers used Photoshop to put a hat on Hakeem Jeffrey, the leader of the Senate. And then you see what Senator Chuck Schumer said in response, essentially saying that this is a joke shutdown. But it's not a joke for millions of Americans who are concerned about, what about our paychecks? What about government services? Is the national park that I'm planning to visit next week going to be open? The average length of shutdowns in this country, 8 days. Go back to the 1970s. The average length of a shutdown is 8 days. The last shutdown, 2018 and 2019, was 35 days. If there's any good news for federal workers, members of the military, is that your paycheck is guaranteed to be paid back and made whole again once the government reopens, but there's no telling how long a shutdown like this may be. Some financial institutions are offering zero-interest loans for members of the military if they're concerned about a paycheck in October not forthcoming. So that is one option available to members of the military. Here's more from the White House yesterday. It's a quick bite, only 12 seconds or so from both sides, but I think it just sums up where we are on this Tuesday morning.
I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind.
Their bill has not one iota of Democratic input. That is never how we've done this before.
12 seconds, but that tells the whole story. So what are we expecting to happen today? We're expecting Republicans' leadership in the Senate to bring up one more time bills that would avert a government shutdown. We're expecting Democrats to reject the Republican proposal and Republicans to reject the Democratic proposal. That's what we're expecting today. Additionally, we're expecting government agencies to further outline their plans for what the government looks like tomorrow. And it's going to be different. Every agency is going to be a little different. You're going to have some agencies that'll look pretty normal. I mean, the IRS has said that they're going to use leftover funds from the Biden administration, the Inflation Reduction Act, to cover the pay for at least the first couple days of a shutdown. So if you're somebody who has business with the IRS, and we're hoping this was going to delay that, IRS looks like it's going to be fully functioning tomorrow with their employees covered. That will not be the case in other government agencies. Some federal workers are expected to report to work tomorrow. Others are not. That's where that essential, non-essential distinction matters. For instance, I'm on the House side of the Capitol right now. The House has advised their members that interns are not going to be deemed essential during a government shutdown. They've begun to say, okay, okay, janitorial duties, trash will be limited pickups, bathrooms won't be cleaned as much. Again, Washington's preparing for what tomorrow will look like if and increasingly when the government shuts down tonight, Holly.
And Joe, it's not just, though, you know, the services around the buildings, but there are also some important I guess, aspects of this. We won't get jobs reports, for instance, and that could have a strong effect on the economy as a whole. Explain, though, how this could ripple down as it goes over time, because there are certain things that we don't think of as part of, oh, the jobs report. People in government do that. It's not a separate entity.
100%. I think how this ripples down and how angry the American people get over this shutdown will dictate how long this shutdown is and who caves first, who blinks first. We've been using the analogy of high-stakes game of political chicken. That's essentially what's going on here. Do Democrats get a lot of angry calls from their constituents? Do Republicans get a lot of angry calls from their constituents? Who's going to blink first here in the shutdown? And that will come down to services impacted. Obviously, if you're planning on visiting a national park and the National Park Service comes out with guidance that says your reservation for something you've been looking forward to for years is going to be canceled, that's going to frustrate that family. Now, is the National Park Service potentially being impacted here, going to drastically change policy? I suspect not. Is economic reports and data being delayed? Sure, that's going to frustrate economists in Wall Street, but is that going to hit home to the average American? Remember what services continue. Social Security checks still go out. Medicare, Medicaid still gets administered. So from a typical American standpoint, they may not feel the impact right away. It's only after a while does impacts of shutdowns really start to be felt. Who blinks first is going to be the story, I suspect, come tomorrow morning. And the bad news for Democrats here is that if you go back, I've covered a lot of these shutdowns over the years. You go back to shutdowns in 2013's, the Obama administration. What did Republicans shut down the government over? The Affordable Care Act. Well, the government reopened, and what wasn't changed? The Affordable Care Act. It's very hard to get policy changes in the midst of these shutdowns. Now, the good news for Republicans, it's not like Democrats are asking for the world here. They're asking essentially to keep something that's currently in place ongoing for a few more years. That's at least a position that may be a little more easily, it's not like Democrats are asking Republicans to sacrifice the Second Amendment for this shutdown. So that may be there may be some wiggle room there for negotiation. But for the moment, both sides are really dug in here. They're committed, it looks like, to going full steam ahead for this shutdown, and then we'll see what it looks like. There is this one part of this shutdown that is different, and that is the threat from the Trump administration of mass firings and furloughs. Is that a threat? Or is that our lead story tomorrow morning, Holly? That's what we don't know. Democrats appear to be calling the president's bluff on it, but it's unclear if the president's bluffing regarding this furlough possibility. So that's one part of this shutdown story that I don't think we're covering enough of, but maybe the story 24 hours from now, Holly.
You know, it's an unusual day when you might get peace in the Middle East before you get an agreement on next year's money for Congress. So we will find out.
That's a good one. I'm going to steal your line and tell people over there. That's a good line,
There
Holly.
you go. Yeah. Take it, because we will be talking about this next hour. We'll see what comes first, a government shutdown or peace in the Middle East, one of the two. Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George for us. We'll keep in touch with you this morning and see you in a bit.